No, thank you. Sleepy. You come back in an hour. Need sleepy. Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located in St. Simons Island, Georgia, the Golden Isles. Listen, man, you want the best pizza? You want the best Italian food? You want the best food? Check out Sal's. See what I'm talking about. Visit his website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328, and mention Sal on this show, and I'm sure he'll throw you a cannoli with your order. So check that out. Like I said, the menu can be drooled over, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by JKJ Boxing Magazine. That's right. You don't have to take a mortgage out for this magazine. Why? Because it's for free. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the magazine cover, which you see right here on the right-hand side. Now, you could download this magazine for free, or you could pay the postage to have it delivered to wherever you may be, and look through it like it's in my grubby little hands, and it could be in yours too. Get yourself a copy and sign up for JKJ Boxing Magazine today. Again, click the banner on BillyCBoxing.com. And today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. It's a must-read for everyone, not just boxing fans. It's a story of a freed slave who actually fought for his freedom and then fought in the first world heavyweight title match. And because of the color of his skin, he got ripped off in the fight. And he's still getting ripped off today from a historical perspective. Read my book and find out what I'm talking about and help us redefine or at least correct the way history is being told. Tom Molyneux should be a household name, and I'm sure you never heard of him. Read the book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. You can get a copy of it where all good books are sold, and you can literally get a copy of it right now by visiting barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. If you're looking to get a signed copy, just visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section and follow the directions. You can also pick up a copy this year at the International Boxing Hall of Fame. I will be there selling it at the card show at a discount price, and I'll sign it for you right there. So make sure you get a copy of my book. Joining me this morning, my partner in crime, Sal Rocky Senecola. Good morning, Sal. What's up?
Good morning, Bill. How you doing today, pal?
I'm doing okay. It's a normal day in paradise for me. How about yourself?
Yeah, we got a beautiful day out here. It looks like it's sun's trying to come through, and it's warm. You know, it's the South, pal. The South is a beautiful lifestyle.
Yeah, I wish I was there. I was talking about St. Simons earlier this week, and I tell you, nothing against the state of Georgia, but I would never have even considered living there at all until I came and checked out your beautiful neck of the woods. Because if I was going to move to the state of Georgia, I think St. Simons would be my only choice. I mean, it is a throwback community, and I really like it there. It's nice. You're lucky to be there.
You know, it's so funny you say throwback. When I first moved down here in 2004, what I loved, it's got a way about itself, a charm, and this is no disrespect at all. It's a compliment what I'm about to say. I felt like Rip Van Winkle. Instead of falling asleep and waking up 20 years in the future, I felt like I fell asleep and woke up 30 years in the past. When things were a little bit slower, when things were a little untainted, when there was more of a way of just enjoying the things around you. It was unhurried, and it was beautiful. And like I said, it's still, on that. It's a very conservative little neck of the woods, and the whole state of Georgia, Bill. I never knew how beautiful and how big this state is. It's unbelievable. I've only driven north and south, maybe 100 miles to get to Florida, and it's a quick drive on 95 to go through the state. But when you look how large and how far and how many hundreds of miles the west is of Georgia and the mountains of Georgia, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's a throwback to a couple hundred years ago, because I recall one time having a delicious meal at in your restaurant, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden some guy, glance over and see a guy sitting there, and he looks at me and goes, "What you looking at, boy?" And I was like, "Oh man, what the hell? Where am I? What year is this?" But anyway, let's today. I'm a little pissed about Canelo Alvarez. I know you like Saul Canelo Alvarez a lot, and so do I. And
Yeah.
Canelo Alvarez has been repeatedly saying he wants to fight the best, and he wants to become a Mexican legend. And for the most part, I felt that he was on his way to that, and for the most part, he has fought the best until he won the middleweight title, and he's clearly ducking Triple G, Gennady Golovkin. He and Oscar De La Hoya what was in my coffee? They seemingly are already dismissing the WBC belt, and they're saying they want to fight Triple G, but maybe not next. So I tell you something. Like yesterday, we were talking about, all eyes, as far as I'm concerned, Sal, are going to be on the WBC. The WBC likes to pound their chest and act like they're the premier sanctioning body. And if they don't strip Canelo for avoiding Triple G, should he get by Amir Khan, I'm going to be pretty pissed off. And the funny thing about it is, it seems like Oscar De La Hoya, who's the promoter of Canelo Alvarez, are already trying to gear up for that, and it seems like they're saying or acting like they're above that title, and I'm a little ticked off.
Well, rightfully so. We always talk about it, the fighters that want to become legends, that want to make their mark and leave a memory and leave a legacy behind in a fight game, and not just be another bum from the neighborhood, they want to fight the best. They want to look for the best. And, between you and I've told you, I think Triple G, there's not really too many fighters out there that I really feel are going to get past Triple G within that 5-pound weight limit up and down. He's a legit, solid, strong, up to this point, invincible middleweight champion. And I think he's got all the tools. And I think, as long as he stays healthy, he's going to be one to contend with, and he's going to be there for a while yet.
No doubt. We got a couple of emails. This one's from my man Jesse. He says, "Hey Billy C, what's your thoughts on the Triple G card? Do you think it's a good one?" And he also asked, "What's your thoughts on Ryan Martin and Pedro Duran?" Now, Pedro Duran and Ryan Martin are both fighting on the undercard of the Triple G fight. My opinion of the card is that I believe that the main and co-main event for the HBO broadcast are really good fights. I'm not so sure how competitive they're going to be, but I know that they're going to be entertaining. As far as the undercard is concerned, the undercard is they're showcase fights. I've been critical of Showtime for doing this, and HBO seems to be following suit. And speaking of showcase fights. I mean, Broadway boxing, I'll get to that in a second. But Jesse says, "Hey, did you watch the Wednesday night fights in New York?" That's the Broadway boxing fights. I'll get to that in a minute. He says, also, I heard possible names for Anthony Joshua would be Berman Stavern, Eric Molina, or Dominic Brazil. Those are all worthy opponents. I agree with you there, Jesse. Before I get to this, let's talk about the fight results since Jesse brought him up. Last night, the Broadway Boxing Series, which is promoted by DeBella Boxing, pulled another Broadway Boxing, DeBella Boxing event, which are, in my opinion, Lou DiBella has become, Lou DiBella used to be a guy that I really recognized with quality fighters, quality events, and stuff like that. And this guy's become a smokescreen. And the fights that were on Broadway Boxing last night are an indication of that. I mean, Bryant Cruz was the main event. He had a rough and tumble fight with Moses Delgado. He ends up winning. He improves to 17-1, and Delgado falls to 17-15. I mean, these are the types of fights. Every single one. Same thing with Noel Murphy beating Ariel Vasquez. Murphy improves to 6-0. Vasquez, he drops to 11-13. Listen, you want to see all the mismatches? Go visit BillyCBoxing.com, and all the results are there. But I can't stand it, Sal. I don't expect every fight to be a knockout, drag-out, killer fight. But I do expect, fights that are on TV of some kind need to have at least one or two that are competitive. I mean, listen, I think this sport is in some serious trouble. And I'm shocked that some of the younger fans are accepting it. And my hang-up is the fact that they're accepting it, but it's only going to be temporary. You know what I mean? I mean, how much can you watch? If you're a new fan, guys like us have been in this business and been fans for a long time. But if you're a new fan, Sal, how the hell do you stay interested in a sport where you know the outcome of the fight before the bell rings?
Well, as you said, boxing has been cultivating this whole aura that we're going to provide you the best entertainment in fighting and the best thing here that's going to happen. And sometimes it never lived up to that. And then we see, as you just said, fights that an armchair quarterback or fan could easily predict what the outcome's going to be. There still is the allure of the fight and the action of the game itself, but if you cannot give them that juicy steak on a repetitive basis, sooner or later they're not going to want to come back to the table.
Exactly. I think a lot of the younger fans buy into all the BS, and I'm a little nervous for the sport. Listen, I'm losing interest. So if I'm losing interest, then I'm really nervous because, I'm very. Well, you know me. The bottom line is I love the sport, and it's hard to get into it. Even fighters that I love, like Triple G. This fight this weekend, as much as I can't wait to see Triple G, I'm not expecting it to be that competitive. But I got another email to read real quick. This one's from Joel, your buddy Joel. He says,
I can still get Joel a T-shirt.
Yeah, he's still waiting. He's been running around without a shirt on, Sal.
He says, shirt on my back.
Yeah, he says, "Hey, Billy C, I'm not one to make great decision on what fights to order on pay-per-view, like Mosley Mayorga, Adamak Molina, haha. Just to give anyone that's a new listener, I'm constantly busting Joel's chops because he buys all of them, and these two, I think he was the only purchaser. But anyway, he says, but I'm on the fence about the Canelo Khan fight, and as a whole." With that pretty decent undercard, do you think the pay-per-view is worth $60 to order? I'm pretty intrigued by Lemieux, Tapia, Gomez Herrera, and Textara Stevens, but wanted to get your opinion on the excitement of the undercard in the main event. I do think it's worth it because I think that Amir Khan is going to give Canelo more of a fight than people think, and because he's got hand speed and movement, and that is the weakness. That Canelo fights, when he fights opponents with movement and hand speed, it gives him trouble. So I think that it's definitely worth it. I do. And as far as the undercard, the rule in boxing, never buy a pay-per-view just for the undercard. The undercard should be, dessert, you know what I mean? Icing on the cake. The truth of the matter is you should feel value. Whatever you're paying for the pay-per-view, you should feel that value for the main event, and the undercard is just some added side dish Since we're making analogies with food, like you said with steak before, I'll just use it as a side dish. He also says, I'm sure you heard yesterday about Conor McGregor retiring and refusing to do promotional obligations for UFC 200, which they were expected to start today. I've been reading that the fight he attended in Ireland to support the guys he trains with when that Brazilian fighter died really had which was a really huge story in Ireland, and it was devastating to everyone there. The speculation is Conor was upset by it, and it left an emotional impact on him, and he didn't feel right to be involved with a fight of his own, regardless of how much money he was going to make, with such a sad situation surrounding the sport. Do you agree with this speculation, or do you think it was something else? That's a tough one, Sal. I mean, a guy out of respect doesn't want to fight. I mean, my only comment is I don't know. I don't know why he did it, if it's a money reason or if it's out of respect for the fallen MMA fighter, or if it's just, him rethinking. But I do know this. Yeah. When you get in the ring with a combat sport, you know what the risks are. To all of a sudden not be able to do it. I don't know. I've never experienced it, and I don't know. I mean, what's your thoughts?
Well, I'll tell you what. That's a bizarre, because I know I'm going to mention his name. My guy Max, he told me this story about 2 days ago, and he said it was not out of respect for the deceased combatant fighter, but it was more along the political line that he was not willing to do things that under the contract and the rules he was obligated to do, and then they were going to strip him of this title. That's what I was told by Max. I didn't really read too much into it, but I'm glad we're bringing it up, and I will like to look and find out that true story.
Yeah, well, you never know if
there's politics involved. You never know, but you're right. When the bottom line is, when you go and you enter into the field of battle, and you are a fan. Before you're a fighter, you're a fan. You love the sport. You see it. There's something there you want to try to emulate and try to rise to the occasion, become. You know the dangers. You know the hazards. There have been people killed in boxing before. Even my father, he tried to dissuade me from boxing until I won the Golden Gloves and everything else, and then he started getting in my corner. But he said, hey, Sal, you get a head injury, or you get hit too much, you might you lose some of your faculties, and so there were those inherent dangers that everybody's aware of, but it's when you tempt that fate, that's part of why you're a fighter. You don't go with the grain, you go against the grain, and you're looking to be something special, and it's willing. The prize is worth the price, and I always use that equation. If the prize is worth the price, my goal is going to cost me something, and it's going to do my change my life in one way or the other. I've got to realize when I'm ready to walk on that wire, is this prize willing? Am I willing to pay the price to get this prize? That's it. And these fighters, in their own way of analogizing it for their own way they can understand themselves, they look in the mirror every day, and they know the dangers, but they look at the opportunity to grab that golden ring, which is part of that prize.
I think all professional athletes have an inherent risk at some point, especially combat or full contact sports. So
exactly. I mean, these things now they're coming forward with it with football. Well, I mean, we've known this. This is these guys. Fran Tarkenton retired early. Not Fran Tarkenton. I think Roger Staubach retired a little early because I think he had one or two times he got his bell rung and was concerned. I mean, everybody, these are contact sports. You're going to bang your heads like a ram in football, and you're going to get your head knocked around by an opponent in boxing. It's how much punishment can the human body take. And I believe that everybody is subject to their own makeup of character, of mind, and body. And, I think more people than not might be more predisposed to that kind of condition.
Yeah, but you know what you're getting into. I know, and you're not being forced. But anyway, it was reported by Bob Arum and Top Rank that they felt that the Manny Pacquiao Timothy Bradley third fight, Timothy Bradley Manny Pacquiao 3, the pay-per-view, man, what the hell is wrong with me?
Right?
Pay-per-view. The numbers came up terrible, according to Bob Arum. It looks like not all the numbers have been turned in, but it looks like they did under 500,000 buys, and they're stating between 400 and 500,000. And Bob Arum says they're terrible. 400 to 500,000 buys, to me, for Pacquiao Bradley 3, I wouldn't look at that as terrible. 100,000 would have been terrible. 200,000 would have been terrible. But 500,000 for a fight that a lot of people really didn't, even care about, I don't know. But who knows? Two big fights, which came out, were at least two big fighters that it seems have been announced that they're going to fight each other, and something that we really want to see. Terrence Crawford and Victor Postol, according to various reports coming out of Top Rank, Bob Arum, and even on ESPN, have indicated that the Terrence Crawford and Victor Postol fight is signed, sealed, and delivered, and scheduled to take place July 23rd. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. What a good one that would be, at least in my opinion. Anthony Joshua, who I believe is going to be the face of the heavyweight division. I think he's going to slowly become the face. It took another step towards that. They're announcing that his first world title defense is June 25th, which I'm really impressed about because the simple fact that a lot of these guys, when they win the title, they don't do much after that. They hang out, they wait for a while, then they get an easy opponent, and we'll see what Anthony Joshua does. Anthony Joshua is a fighter that appears to be heading at least in a direction in which I would like to see. Being a guy that's going to be active and fighting decent fights. So we'll see what happens with that. So anyway, Sal, I was just saying that I know we lost you for a second with your soup can internet connection there, but Anthony Joshua is scheduled for his first fight in June, which I'm really looking forward to.
I like Anthony Joshua. He's one of the futures of the excitement, I think, in the game of boxing. He's a straight shooter. He looks like he lives a clean life. He's a respectable guy. I think he carries himself well. So yeah, Anthony Joshua, here's to you.
I got something in the news for you. There's a fight that's taking place this weekend, and it's a women's match in Sweden. And Michaela Lauren is the main event, and she's scheduled to defend her junior middleweight title. And she's pissed off. She feels that ring card girls is a sexist tradition. And she's referred to them as, women, half-naked women parading around the ring holding scorecards up, round cards up. She says she wants, instead, for her fights and for all women's fights, she says instead of, having ring card girls, she wants some hot guys. She says, and I quote, "I refuse to have a ring card girl walking around as a sexual object at a match where two girls are fighting. That's crazy. The show is on us girls, and then it's only fair to have some male eye candy. If all the guys have ring card girls at their matches, then I, as a girl, should have ring boys. To me, this is obvious. Otherwise, it's discrimination. Either the promoter finds a solution, or I'll take care of it myself. It's no problem finding a good-looking guy who can walk around there with this sign. I think it's only fair, and I'm sure it will give women in the audience some pleasure as well."
Yeah, right.
You
want to hear my comment?
Yeah, because, the funny thing
Tell
is...
you what, who really buys these tickets to go to these events?
No, but the point is, do you really go to watch the ring card, girl? I mean,
you don't.
I mean, I happen to love it when I'm calling a fight and I get an up close to some hottie. But the truth of the matter is that their job really is to identify which round it is. And I mean, it is what it is. Women's boxing is doesn't have enough exception in the or I should say acceptance in the sport anyway to start making demands. If I was the promoter, I would kick her off the card. And the truth of the matter is that here's a little piece of history. Before the 70s, actually, before the early 70s, guys did walk around with the ring card. They did identify it. The girls didn't come in until the 70s when they wanted to spice it up a little bit. So I don't know, Sal. I don't know. What do you think? You think the fans would rather see a couple of hot women changing and doing, carrying the round cards, or me and you? Maybe you take a round and I take a round. I mean, what do you think, man?
I can see it now. Yeah, we'll have alternate rounds. We'll have a guy in one round, a girl in the other. That's where it's coming. Yeah, I remember that whole evolution too. I remember it used to be a guy walking around with a ring card, usually dressed in a tie or this and that, coming in, and the women in the 70s started coming around with a single piece bathing suit or beauty.
Yeah, they don't have to be half naked. They could, and listen, what's next? We got women doing the ring cards. Then we got to be all fair and have men do it for the women. And then what? Then we're gonna have transvestites and
forget about it.
You know what
I tell her? Just worry about your fight at hand.
That's it.
Worry about getting your job done. What you need. Let the promoter do what he's got to do. Because he's got to sell the tickets to give you the money.
Not that there's anything wrong with transvestites. No. I'm just saying.
Hey.
But anyway, I don't want to get anybody pissed at me. The last thing
I don't want to get anybody upset.
I
can see both. Go ahead.
The last thing I want is transvestites chasing me around. But anyway, in Major League Baseball, the Reds topped the Rockies 6-5. The Cardinals over the Cubs 5-3. The White Sox over the Angels 2-1. Mariners beat the Indians 2-1. The Tigers over the Royals 3-2. The Orioles, they're still hot, man. 4-3 over the Blue Jays. Didn't do too well in New York. The A's beat the Yankees 5-2, and the Phillies topped my Mets 5-4. The Red Sox beat the Rays 7-3. Dodgers topped the Braves 5-3. Nationals, they're another hot team, 3-1 over the Marlins. Rangers over the Astros 2-1. Padres 8-2 over the Pirates, and the Diamondbacks topped the Giants 2-1. Over in the NBA, the Heat. They had a hot win over the Hornets, 115-103. The Cavs 107-90 over the Pistons. The Clippers 102-81 over the Trailblazers. NHL playoff Sal. The Flyers beat the Capitals 2-1. The Capitals, however, lead the series 3-1. The Panthers beat my Islanders 2-1. The series is tied. This seems to be the most competitive series of this first heat. The Stars 3-2 over the Wild. The Stars lead the series 3-1, and the Sharks got back on a winning track, topping the Kings 3-2, and they lead the series 3-1 as well. You got any final tidbits before we go to break here?
I'll tell you, I've got, I'm doing a little bit. I surf the internet a little bit early, about 5:30 in the morning, and I get a little. I can call it maybe water cooler chat. How's that? Water cooler chat. Little tidbits that are worthy of some news to bring up during the course of one's day. And I saw first off that the WWF female champion, China, who's known as John Laura, was found dead in California in her apartment today. At the age of 46, she is passed away.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I caught that too. I mean, anybody that young, you don't want to see it. It's going to be interesting to find out what the causes were. Hopefully, there wasn't any foul play involved.
Well, I don't know if they're going. Yeah, they're going to do an investigation. It didn't look like at the scene that there was foul play. I don't know. I heard she had a rough history with some narcotics, possibly. I'm not sure, but I'm not alluding to anything because I don't know.
Right.
And then there was another tidbit. I think Kelly Ripka on the morning show I think, failed to show up to the set. She said she had a planned vacation, but if they think it might also be her finding out, one of the last to know that Michael Strahan is going to leave that show and go to Good Morning America.
Well, I got to be honest. Kathy Ripka, when she left my bedroom this morning, she couldn't find her shoes, and she she had to go all the way back to her place to get another pair of shoes. So maybe that's the reason why she didn't show up.
There you go.
But listen,
And here's another little tidbit, something that I professed for years. In fact, when my kids were born, I used to have debates with this with my ex, and we, somebody said that there's a whistleblower out there right now that's going to say that the CDC has known for over 14 years that there is that true link between the vaccines they bombard babies with in a hospital before they leave, and now the link to possibly bringing on autism, which was something that I remember first hearing when my two kids were born 16 years ago and 13 years ago. In fact, I told my ex then, I said, all I want is my kids to be given the vaccines that are mandatory, the ones that I was given. And that's what we did.
well,
We saved the rest. We saved the rest for later on. You look at that, and I'm not a doctor by any means, although I was an anesthesiologist with a knockout.
and you stayed at a Holiday Inn Express the other
Yes,
night.
I
But
did.
hey, listen, hold that thought because I got to take a break, and actually, because Dax Khan will be coming on to do that. That's an interesting topic that we could bring up next time we do a show, which won't be until Tuesday. But hold that because that's a topic I want to discuss. But as of now, I got to take a break. Sal, great as usual, and we'll look forward to you next time, my man.
Hey, listen, you have a great day. Thank you, guys. I enjoyed it as always, and we'll see you when we see you.
Time flies, Sal. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
That's Sal Rocky Senecola. I'll be back in 2.
The Billy C. Morning Show will be right back.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man. www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com, and tell them Billy C sent ya.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts. Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning.
Now, back to the Billy C. Morning Show. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening to the Talking Wrong. You're listening. Man, did that come automatically? You're listening and watching the Billy C. Morning Show. Glad you could join us. Today's shows are being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria. Check it out, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, and JKJ Boxing Magazine. It's for free. Get your copy today. Visit www.billycboxing.com and click on the JKJ Boxing Magazine cover for all the information on how you can get that. And today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet. It's available right now where all good books are sold, and you can literally get yourself a copy right now, wherever you are, by visiting barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. Real quickly, in some football news, Johnny Manziel. I wanted to get to this football Johnny, who's been in the headlines a lot since he's made the transition from college to pro. It was announced yesterday that the second agent within almost a 2-month period just kicked him to the curb. Drew Rosenhaus has officially dropped Johnny Manziel as a client, and Eric Burkhart was his first agent who dropped him a couple months ago. And to add to Johnny Manziel's troubles, The Dallas County District Court has said that his domestic violence charge, which was an assault when he was charged for hitting his girlfriend during an argument a couple months ago, will be facing a grand jury today, and a decision most likely will be announced on Monday. Johnny Manziel may be pissing away his career, and it's a shame because he was a talented college football player, just hasn't made that transition to the NFL yet. Joining me right now to give us his breakdowns and thoughts on the big fights this weekend is my man Dax Khan. What's up, brother?
Hey, good morning. How is everybody?
Not too bad, not too bad. What you got going? I know you're going to be talking about the two big HBO fights this weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk about the two HBO fights this weekend, and if we have a little time, let's talk about something that you and Sal were talking about a little while ago. But, of course, we're going to break down the Roman Gonzalez and McWilliams Arroyo WBC flyweight title fight, and then we're going to do the Gennady Golovkin and Dominic Wade unified WBA Super IBF and WBC interim title fight between Gennady Golovkin, all those over at the Inglewood Forum, which is some interesting stuff I want to say about the forum in a few minutes, Bill. But first, let's talk about the Gennady Golovkin fight.
Sounds good. You want to talk about that fight first? Go ahead.
Yeah, we're going to bring that one up so this way when we speak about the other ones, you'll find this very interesting on this week.
Okay.
Gennady Golovkin, of course, we all know the pros on him. He has power, he has footwork, ring intelligence, and a solid piston-like jab. Very underestimated defense, rolls with his shots. Doesn't just block them. He's an all-around, right now, I think, might be the best fighter in the world outside of Roman Gonzalez. The pros on Wade, he has a long reach for a middleweight, almost 75 inches. He comes forward, he throws a solid left hook with authority, and he's fairly accurate with his punches. He doesn't waste a lot of shots. Now, the con on Golovkin is, even though that defense is underrated, he takes a few unnecessary shots, I think, to please the crowd. He employs what he calls that Mexican style. And even knows he can cruise through his opponents and outbox them most of the time without ever really being pushed. One of these days, Bill, I think that's going to get him in some trouble. The cons on Wade, he has a lack of big fight experience. He's going to be coming in off the longest layoff of his short career, just over 10 months. His best win is over a very battle-worn Sam Solomon. Most of all, Wade's issue is he keeps his hands very low. That is going to be his downfall in this fight. He likes to keep that left hand by his waist so he can extend that jab quick. Using that against somebody like Gennady Golovkin just is not going to be beneficial. Officially, Bill, I have to go with Golovkin. I'm starting to think that promoters are purposely feeding him guys like Dominic Wade as an excuse on why guys like Canelo aren't fighting him, or the other guys in that division who are the bigger names aren't stepping in the ring with him so they can say, who is he beating? Dominic Wade fight is very much similar to the Willie Monroe fight, where Golovkin is going in there against an opponent who's not tested. And this really bothers me, these type of fights, especially when Golovkin wants these big names.
No doubt, and it's one of the major reasons I am having a hard time with the sport. To be honest with you, Dax, I coined a phrase when I first started this show 13 years ago. Everybody wants to fight, but nobody wants to fight anybody, and that's what's happening today, big time. You can't go around saying you're the best when you're not willing to fight anybody, especially when you're talking shit like Canelo Alvarez, how he wants to fight nothing but the best. And now they're obviously and directly saying that they're not going to fight Triple G, and they're already giving up the belt. They're like ready to give it up. So when you got guys that led the way like Floyd Mayweather cherry picking his opponents, and these top name guys all of a sudden appearing on the scene, and then not fighting anybody, it's terrible. And then to criticize Triple G for not having a name on his resume, I mean, you can't force guys to fight him, and it's almost like that's what we got to do. I'm with you. I'm picking Triple G. No disrespect to Dominic Wade. He doesn't belong in the same ring with Triple G, just like you alluded to with the Willie Monroe, who I happen to have really like him and his team. They just aren't ready for a guy like Triple G. He's arguably the best fighter in boxing today. In terms of ring generalship, breaking down opponents, et cetera, at least in my opinion.
It makes it hard to even break down fights like this. Like you said, no disrespect to Dominic Wade, because I think the kid has a future, but again, he just doesn't belong in that ring with Triple G. While you and Sal were on the phone, I was cruising Twitter, and, I'm seeing, one media outlet out there who I'm not just going to, throw out, they're talking about how Triple G refuses to fight Canelo at a catchweight, and the way they're presenting it as if Triple G is the guy ducking.
Yeah, and that's even more nerve-wracking, because Canelo Alvarez is a middleweight champion. He needs to step up and fight middleweight. You can't dictate to fight a middleweight at 155 or 156 or whatever he's doing, 155, 156, something like that, because it's a pound over what he feels he can dry out. He's not a little guy. It's not like, when Cotto was the middleweight champion, you could almost, not that I accept it, because I don't, but Cotto's a small guy. Canelo Alvarez isn't. He just happens to feel more comfortable drying out 20 pounds for a weigh-in. If you had the same day weigh-ins again, Dax, you wouldn't be hearing him saying that he wants to fight at 155. That's for sure.
What happens with those, and we've seen it with several fighters, is when you have to dehydrate so much, even to make these catch weights, that shortens your career quite a bit. When you're gaining 20 pounds overnight, that takes a lot of toll on the body. And Canelo is, how old is Canelo? 25, 26 years old. So he's really not, or he's just coming into his full maturity physical-wise. So, by the time he's 30, these tactics are really going to take its toll and shorten his career, I promise.
Well, I tell you, it's, again, the way these fighters are, what's happening is they're chasing guys away like me, who have been a loyal fan for my whole life practically, and they're not building a solid foundation for all the newbies that they're collecting now, because I just can't see a new fan stick with the sport and be so interested in the sport when like I said to Sal a few minutes ago, when you know the outcome of the fight. We know the outcome. Listen, these are the two top fighters in boxing that are fighting this week on, in my opinion, still the premier boxing channel with HBO. The two top fighters, you can make an argument, are fighting this weekend, and they're both fighting guys that we all know that they're going to beat. No disrespect to Arroyo or Wade, which are, like you said, both good young fighters that both will have a future. But and the rule of thumb, Dax, is when you're a young fighter, if you get a world championship opportunity along with a paycheck, you never say no. And I'm not going to criticize Arroyo or Wade for taking these fights. You certainly can't criticize Triple G or Gonzalez, because nobody's lining up to fight either one of these two.
No, and nobody is, and it's tough on them because it hurts their legacy. But people are hand-fed with the announcers and what social media gives them, and that's unfortunately what's going on here. But on to the Roman Gonzalez and McWilliams Arroyo fight. The pros on Roman Gonzalez, is his timing, his footwork, positioning, speed, power. It all blends perfectly. If there was one thing about him in the ring I can say is most impressive is his composure. He's always focused on the task in front of him. He never allows himself to become distracted or caught up in the moment. He won't even become overconfident when he's fully in charge and know his opponent is on the way out, which is one of the most important things for any fighter, never getting careless. And Roman Gonzalez never gets careless. The pros on McWilliams Arroyo is he has power. 14 stoppages out of 16 wins shows that. He's an excellent body puncher. In fact, he uses it to set his opponents up for the headshots. He has a sturdy chin, and he punches in bunches. The cons on Gonzalez, the last time I was on and broke down Chris Algieri and Errol Spence, I said there was very little to pick apart about Errol Spence. In the case of Roman Gonzalez, there is nothing. He does everything textbook perfect. I have a lot of people who say to me, but he's only a flyweight. There's not a lot of guys out there who are elite world caliber that you can compare that to and say he's that good. then you know what? You're not a real boxing fan, because a lot of those small guys are very good. And I always refer to that video, The Art of Movement, with Roman Gonzalez. Watch what he does. He never does anything wrong. The Khan's on Arroyo, sometimes he rushes in with punches and abandons his defense. Usually he does this when the opponent is hurt, but he has been countered doing so. He's never really paid the price for it so far because of that chin. Final prediction, Roman Gonzalez. McWilliams, a solid fighter. As you stated, he gave a very tough fight to undefeated IBF division belt holder, I'm not wrong, and he could handle, gave him all he can handle, but Roman is a complete different fighter. You know, boxing today, he's the best there is. So, in both these fights, Bill, unfortunately, you know, they're showcase fights, and I'm frustrated.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel your pain, my man. It's very frustrating for me to keep talking about the same old stuff. And my topic today, great job in the breakdowns. My topic today really is surrounding a future fight, even though both of these guys have different opponents coming up. Canelo Alvarez scheduled to fight Amir Khan, and of course this weekend Triple G against Dominic Wade. You know, the fight that we really want to see for the middleweight division is solo Canelo Alvarez against Triple G. And despite Canelo saying he wants to fight the best, and despite the WBC saying, "Oh, we're ordering it," it's not looking like it's going to happen. You know, Oscar De La Hoya and Canelo Alvarez are already planting the seed to let all the boxing fans down and either let themselves get stripped of the WBC title or just blatantly duck, or I should say, and blatantly duck Triple G.
Well, you know, this weekend, you know, I'm sure you know you watch the PBC fights, and when you listen to that team, the stuff that they give you and they feed you, you know, when you watch social media, you know, whether it be Twitter or Facebook, and this is going on, these younger fans, Bill, they pretty much repeat exactly what they're being told, hand-fed, or they see from these press releases, and that's kind of the same avenue that I think De La Hoya is going with Canelo. You always continuously hear what's the first phrase you hear about Canelo when he's being introduced? The number one star in boxing today. You know what? You're not the number one star in boxing today because, you know, you're not the number one talked about fighter in the sport. The guy you're avoiding, Triple G, he's talked about more than you are. There's guys at 154 pounds talked about more than he is. Guys at 140 pounds, 47, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what they do is they're going out there and getting guys like Amir Khan, who they know has a large fan base over in the UK. They know that people are going to criticize the fight, and they know people are going to tune in for the fight strictly because of the fact that, hey, I can't believe this is happening. They're hoping that an upset comes off. They're hoping that the Amir Khan critics see Amir Khan get knocked out, etc., and so on. It's all a marketing ploy, but you know, and that's all this is. You know, we spoke about this. What we have over the last few years, these fighters, they don't care about legacy anymore. It's all about the money.
You know, I'm not going to criticize fighters that want to get financial gain. You can't. You know, it's their business, and you can't. And I know you don't. But the truth of the matter is that you gotta do both. You know, you can't say you're the best and cherry pick the weakest opposition, and by the way, try to collect as much as you can. You need to make as much money as you can, but at the end of the day, this sport, the sport of boxing, is geared to prove and to show that you're the best in your division. I mean, it's the same basis for every sport. You know, the whole reason why you compete is because of the competition. It's called competing because, you want to compete to be the best, to win the title, to win the championship, to win, to be the top dog. That's the ultimate goal. You know, these guys make more money than the rings are worth, but the rings have significant value when they win it. The championship belts have significant value when they win it. And that's what's happening to the sport. We're and it's the only sport like it. There's not more than one Super Bowl champion. There's not more than one World Series champion, NBA champion, et cetera, et cetera. But there are many, many world champion fighters, And, I talk to people every day about boxing, and I hear the same thing every time. I used to be into boxing. I couldn't name the heavyweight champ. The heavyweight champ. You don't even expect them to name all the other champions, but nobody can even name the heavyweight champion. And I say to them, hey, don't feel bad because there's 5 of them.
And that, at one point in time was the most precious title in all the sports.
Exactly.
Not just boxing. On the face of the earth, that any sport, that was the most precious or the most elite status to have.
Of course, and that's something we talked about yesterday with the blast from the past. We were talking about how the fighters of the early years would win the title, then go on to parade around that they're the champion, and that's how they made money. It was prestige to be considered the heavyweight champion. Out of all the divisions, if you were the world heavyweight champion, you were like the best guy in the world. That's what you fought for. Today, how can you be? You win a title. How could you pound your chest and say you're the best when you're not even fighting any of the other guys in your own era?
Exactly. And here's something, to go with that topic. As I was stating before, the Inglewood Forum, is kind of making a comeback. It used to be a great venue years ago. And, something that I'm sure you know, but listeners might be interested in if they don't know. This week, was Alexis Arguello's birthday. I think he would have been 64 on the 19th. That's Roman Gonzalez's mentor. Alexis Arguello, fought many times over at that Inglewood Forum, as did a lot of those Hispanic fighters. Arguello had 4 successful world title fights there. He won his first world title there, the WBA featherweight title from Ruben Olivares there. Ruben Olivares, right around Arguello's birthday 4 years earlier, he won a world title there. You have so much history has taken place with the WBA and the WBC inside of that venue. Julio Cesar Chavez and Juan Kid Meza both made successful defenses on Alexis Arguello's birthday in 1985 over at that venue. This is just, I'm really excited about that venue, and I think more importantly than the bout itself, we're going to see something different from Roman Gonzalez this weekend because he knows the history that his mentor has had at that venue. He knows what kind of fan followings are there at that venue to see him. Triple G has a large Hispanic fan following with that Mexican style. So this event this weekend is going to be something special, Bill, in terms of what everybody out there, both the champions and their opponents, put out. And that's what, I'm really excited about. I just wish we could get this type of electricity with a higher level of opponents for each person, and they can, all these other guys like a Canelo would be willing to step down off that pedestal and go to a place like the Inglewood Forum and do those things that we've been talking about and you and Sal have talked about. And go out there and do it for the fans while building your legacy, and you can make that money while doing that in these places.
Yeah, I hope so, bro. I really do. For years, for literally 200 years, people have been saying that boxing should be outlawed. It's dead. It's dying. Blah blah blah, and it's always prevailed. But right now, I hate to say it, but I think it's. I think boxing is in the worst state it's ever been in. And not because we don't have the talent, because I think we do. It's just the nature. I've said that a million times, that greed is the main problem. But it's not just, everybody used to feel sorry for the fighters. Oh, the poor fighters being taken advantage of, and the big bad promoter. Don King is regarded as the Satan of boxing, and Bob Arum, and and then all of a sudden you got crooked managers and networks and the sanctioning bodies, and we all pointed fingers at everybody but the fighters. We always had this it's not the fighter's fault mentality, but that's changed. That's all changed. And I keep saying that a guy like Floyd Mayweather, although Floyd Mayweather was good for him, and although there's only one Floyd Mayweather because he was able to do it, he had the skill set and the somebody backing him with some kind of a brain to make the moves. The negative part, that's all positive for him, but the negative part is the way fighters interpret what Floyd was able to do. is resulting in what we're seeing today. You know, I'm watching those fights the other night, and I'm watching this guy looking in the camera, the guy who lost the fight, Davis, and he's looking in the camera like he's all cocky, like he was a cross between Mayweather and Broner, and he's got, 13 fights, 14 fights under his belt, and he's all cocky and everything. He ends up losing the fight. I said, it couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Who was that? The Brown fight?
No. It was the fight the other night. It was on the Tuesday, toe-to-toe Tuesday fight.
Oh, toe-to-toe Tuesday. Okay,
yeah.
My mistake.
Yeah,
this is how crazy the sport is. And champions, Bill, lineal champions. The lineal light heavyweight champion is Adonis Stevenson. Adonis Stevenson, I don't know if you've seen him lately, but I think he's getting ready to duck somebody a heavyweight. He looks like he's about 250, 260 pounds.
He's a fraud. I tell you what, the PBC, really, when you look at the fighters with the PBC and you look at all even Mayweather Promotions fighters, they're all frauds. Show me a real.
Dawson wins over Cornelius White, and he's out on social media. He wants an Andre Ward rematch.
Yeah, right.
And then you get Michaela Lauren. You guys were speaking about sexism before. The WBC female super welterweight champion. She's scheduled to have a defense this weekend against Ivana Haldon, and she's threatening to pull out because she wants to fight a man.
No, she doesn't want to fight a man. She wants a man to be she wants boys to be the ring card girls.
I must have read that. I thought I remember that part. She was saying, it was sexist and stuff like that. But I thought, something in there. She was saying she wants number one boy.
Yeah, I don't know, number one boy to walk around with the ring cards. But it's crazy. It's crazy and it's sad. And I hate to keep. I'm getting more frustrated talking negatively about the sport than I am following it. I don't know. You know what? I hope that Triple G, he's going to put on a great show, and then people are going to not give him credit. And you got to remember, this is where the sanctioning bodies need to take the blame too, because the sanctioning body, Dominic Wade is a mandatory for one of the belts he's got. So it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. But
and how I can't even understand how that happens. People just appear out of nowhere. But you never answered my question before I go that I asked you the other day. And I've been frustrating a lot of people, and somebody cursed me out on this one. What fighter holds wins over Jack Dempsey, Sugar Ray Robinson, and fought Rocky Marciano to a no contest?
Yeah, but the trick question was. I know you told me already. I already know the answer, but that was exhibitions, and Bob Hope. He really was. He did fight professionally under that name. You know that, right? Packy East.
Yeah. He fought under Packy East, and that was actually his tribute to a fighter that he was a big fan of. Packy McFarland.
Yeah, who was Packy West? There was a Packy West. And he decided that he would become Packy East.
Packy East.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine Bob Hope fighting. But, that came up on something I was reading the other day, and I just thought it was real interesting. So I put it out there on social media kind of as a joke, and I had somebody tell me, you're on drugs.
Well, you know what? You just... And you know what? The way you worded it was correct. You didn't say that it wasn't an exhibition. You know what I mean?
And I think the one with Rocky Marciano, I think Bing Crosby was, the referee, and of course it was for charity. Rocky was already retired. If I'm not mistaken, that was the opening for Madison Square Garden.
Well, he used to do a skit on the Bob Hope show. He used to do a skit where he always boxed somebody. He came out with these gigantic gloves. I'm talking big gloves.
Yeah, big, huge, giant pillow-like gloves, like you see at the Hall of Fame or something.
Exactly. Good comparison. But Dax, great job as usual, and hopefully next week we'll have our full schedule in place, and you'll be back to normal.
All right, everybody, enjoy your week and have a great day.
Take care, brother. That's Dax Khan. Check out his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. Now, listen, programming note: we will not be doing a live show tomorrow or Monday, but we will be back on Tuesday. Sorry for the shortened shows this week, but we're in the middle of making some changes, and changes take time, and we all got to do it. So I apologize for that. So don't forget, no live show tomorrow or Monday, but we return on Tuesday. It will give you a great opportunity to go back and check out some of the shows you might have missed. All of our shows are up on our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/talkin, TALKIN, boxing, BOXING. Now, if you're part of the Billy C Challenge, all the fights are out. Good luck to everyone on that. And I'll leave you guys with this. Enjoy the Triple G and Roman Gonzalez fights this weekend on HBO. I'm sure they're going to be entertaining. And after that, don't forget to tune in Tuesday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.